Okay, this is where we're at the start of turn 20. All of those orange cubes are victory point hexes that we hold. And the best way to view the victory conditions are all A and B sector positions are worth 1 victory point, and C and D sector positions are worth 2. And we need 40 victory points to win the game. What we currently have is 26, so we're 14 short, and we've got 2 over here are B sectors. We've got 1 up here, A sector, that's 3 short, and then we've got this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So unless I've missed something, that's what we're short. So we need to, I think, I've tried deliberately to play carefully and not squander men. So hence why I took way longer to try and get around this position to cut its supply off, which I've now done, so it can't keep refilling up. Whereas if you just go straight at it on turn 1, you might roll it over or it might cost you dearly. My issue has been trying to make sure we just don't lose outright from catastrophic loss, because that's what usually happens to me when I'm too aggressive or when you just get plain unlucky. So now I think we have to throw caution to the wind. I think it's absolutely clear we're going to need to break through this intense fire net. So clearly we're going to have to take that and possibly even that, so that we can hopefully steal some free double pointers. We have to hope to God the amount of men we've spent on trying to get this position pays off. I mean, we moved in a pretty good unit there and it's just gone completely. So, and then maybe we can push up the road. Who knows? We've got 5 turns, and I think now we just push hard and hope we get lucky. Because there's not much left in the tactical play. So, no landings, event phase. Place a hero marker, I'll take that. That's not the luck I'm talking about. I think the luck we need is we need to be able to we need the sort of luck that we can then, excuse me, I was about to sneeze. We need the sort of luck on the fire cards where we can rush in and not get hit and things like that. Okay, which is the fire card, and that's not necessarily going to help us. Yellow, resupply if units are in field of fire, otherwise redeploy, otherwise reinforce. So he won't resupply and he won't redeploy, so he does nothing. 1, 2, he's outside 3, so he does nothing. This yellow will resupply, get a depth marker. Not what we needed, but what are you going to do about it? And that's it for yellow. Oh no. Yellow up here. Oh no, he'll try and redeploy. Look at that. Fantastic. All right, blue P. patrol, patrol, or nothing. So he'll do nothing. He'll patrol 1 unit within 4 hexes of the symbol, circle, circle, circle. He'll disrupt him, the hero unit. And blue, 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 blue. Blue patrol will disrupt that. Oh no, yes, he will. No, 1 within 4 hexes. No, none has the symbol. Those will go. That's it for blue. Brown. Brown over here will lose his disruption marker, and he's the only brown position left anywhere near us over there. And this is the last brown position over here, and he gets an assault action, but he can't get to us within 3 hexes, so he will instead ambush looking for a circle and doesn't get one. So that's the fire card. That was pretty benign, mostly because most of the things that came up were disrupted. Conduct 1 extra action. I've got the 2 there, plus 1. HQ phase. These HQs go up to 3. The other one's at 4. I think we've got garrisons out everywhere they can go. So do we want to lift any? Yep, we might lift him 5-1. Okay, let's go. One, two, three. Push him off. 1, 2, 3 to there. Put both of those on him. Attack that. Kill it. Cubed. Actually, we'll attack it with him. Plus, no, that's what we're going to have to do. Cubed. He can go up the road. 1, 2, 3. To stop in that fire zone. 2, 3. I think I'll stop him there, move him forward. We're making the rush over here. You are kidding. Okay. Action. 10. Oh my God. 10, we don't flank, so we don't have the weapons. So guess what that means? Attack strength equal or greater. Japanese gains depth. Fantastic. Two. So they're cubed. Attack here. 7. We have machine guns. We don't have demolitions. So we don't have the weapons, but we're double. Japanese disrupted. He can move here. Time to give him the artillery. Looking for blue, didn't get it. So I think that just is a complete and utter miss. The other next one, blue triangle. We get blue circle. So he is disrupted. Next one, looking for blue circle. We missed. So 3 artillery shots, 1 half hit. We haven't got time to mess about. So we'll be assaulting. We'll go in with all of them. Move him down to there. Move him forward. These will fire again. What is he? 2 doubled to 4. So we need 8. They will. Oh no. Jeez. Can't do anything about it. I think when I disrupted him that was illegal because I attacked him with the tank and pulled them in. So tank will have to move out. He will have to move in. Any other actions? I don't think there's anything else, so we have the close combat. One for each unit, 1 for the CC, 1 for jungle. 4 for the pips, 1 for the hero. Blue is the colour. Blue misses. Blue misses. Blue misses but gets heroism. We lose a card, which would have been a hit, of course it would have, and he gets a card. Blue hits. Depth marker is dead. He loses a card. blue hits, take a step loss, lose a card, blue, 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 yes, got him dead. We're all disrupted in that hex. That's the end of For the players interested, I don't just you'll think, what on earth is going on here? This is my third restart since I finished videoing the playthrough and then discovered that I'd lost the last couple of turns, but that I actually played, because I ended it on everything just stalled, and it was clear that we weren't going to get much further. In fact, like this hex, I pointed out, we'd spent probably 7 turns trying to get that hex, and when we finally cleared it, it reinforced. Fresh unit, depth marker, unrevealed, fired, hammered us. It was horrible. It was horrible. So I thought I'd just throw this bit in to ask the question, well, what makes this game, firstly, what makes it better than its predecessor in the Pacific Theatre, at least, Tarawa? And the thing that makes this game better than Tarawa, in my opinion, is that there are far more strategic options. A game of Tarawa tends to follow the same pattern. You tend, I suppose you could go hard and go left on day one, but you tend to follow the same pattern, whereas this one gives you choices as to where you're going to rob Peter to pay Paul, and whether you do the hook like I did, or whether you actually try and push the entire 5th Regiment up into this area on day one and take the essentially double victory point positions before they really get a chance to fill up, which is not a bad strategy in my opinion. And this is the 3rd restart I've made just to get a decent start, and I'm 5 turns, like the HQs are about to show up, 4 turns in, and I'm nowhere near going as well as I did in the playthrough. But the 2 restarts before this one ended on turn 5 catastrophic loss and turn 7 catastrophic loss. So you can't blame, it wasn't bad luck that prevented a win in the playthrough. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It was fantastic luck that resulted in me getting as far as I did. So I do think there's more options on how you go about approaching the battle. That's what makes Peleliu a more interesting map to play. However, then there are the things that changed from Tarawa to this that make the game significantly harder, and the accumulative effect of those things is to make the game, pretty much impossible. Now, one of them I'll point out here. There seems to be an inconsistency. If we have a look at these two positions here, you'll notice that the intense fire, like Tarawa, is in the clear hexes, and the hexes that provide cover are steady fire. Same with the green position. But then you get this, where it's intense fire, even into the hexes that provide your men with cover. And all of those positions, along the coast, down to here, up there, they all have, and including this blue one, they all have intense fire zones into jungle. And it makes such a dramatic difference because there is no tactical approach you can take. They're all going to be effectively World War I suicidal frontal assaults. The second thing where that really hurts you is that in Tarawa you had support markers. And one of the most useful things you could do with a support marker was remove disruption. So your units move in, you get unlucky, or 50% of the time it's going to activate. You get hit and disrupted. In this game, that you can't provide any support. They can't call in an artillery barrage because it's still unrevealed, and you can't undisrupt them. There is zero mechanisms for doing that. No, it doesn't happen. So you're just stuck, and your men are stuck in no man's land, pinned down, and are going to get hit ad infinitum until the position stops activating. Whereas at least in Tarawa, you could use a support marker, remove the disruption, and either continue the attack or withdraw, depending on what the situation was. You also had the ability that most of the positions on Tarawa were coastal positions, and they could be barraged. In this game, suddenly you can't barrage anything unless it's revealed, and the positions don't reveal themselves. You have to get in there and cop the hits and the disruptions and just hope to God you get lucky. And that leaves a bit of a bad taste because there's no tactics to it. You're just testing your card luck every position you take on, and you've got to take on about 40 positions in the course of the game. There's something else I noticed is that, and I'll point it out here, is there is the 1st Battalion and there is the 2nd Battalion. Notice anything? D's missing. In Tarawa, each battalion had 4 companies, and the 4th company that's missing is the heavy weapons company. Instead, you get 1 heavy weapons company per regiment. So you're actually 2 full companies light than you should be, and that's nasty. And then on top of that, on Tarawa, you had each battalion had 2 engineer units supporting it. In this game, you get 1 engineer unit per regiment of 3 battalions, and then you get the 3 infantry HQs. Now, I have an issue with the infantry HQs because they're battalion HQs that are incapable of commanding their battalion. I think a battalion HQ should be able to command its battalion, not just some random infantry unit that it's stacked with. Because what that creates is a situation where probably the best use of these infantry HQs is to stack them. Could you imagine how effective it would be if you had 3 stacks of 2 of them? You could move around with almost impunity, and you'd have enough firepower points to reveal positions, and then have the infantry come in after they're revealed and avoid the disruption problem. The other thing that's very different is the close combat. I think I don't have a problem with the Japanese getting extra cards when they're defending in jungle and coral hexes, for example. But I do have a problem that they get an extra card when we're defending against their assaults in that terrain. I don't think they should, because they get a free card for attacking, I don't think they should get a terrain bonus card as well. If anything, if the Japanese are going to get one for defending in it, maybe we should get one when we're defending. But the tactics again, I think, are lacking in close combat, because at least on Tarawa, the Japanese by default played the first card in a close combat, but unless you disrupted them. In Peleliu, they play the first card regardless, and worse, when they're assaulting you, your first hit only disrupts them. So it's very difficult to damage the Japanese assaults unless they're in counterattack stance. Very difficult to damage their assaults, and but they damage you, and they get extra cards to damage you with. So you not only are you given less pips, less firepower, less units on Peleliu, but then you cop it even harder as well. Another big difference with this game is so much of the board is now single movement. On Tarawa, there was very few hexes that stopped you from moving other than intense fire zones. In this game, this is a slog, because it takes you 4 turns to move from there to there. 4 turns. Which brings me to the one I pointed out in the playthrough. In Tarawa, you get 14 turns on day 2, and it's those last 3 turns where you tend to, if you're going to win the game, you need every one of those 3 turns to get your win. In Peleliu, we only get 11 turns on the last day. And I think with the extra units and 3 more turns might make the game a lot more tense at the end. You might actually have a chance at pulling it off. The real other big difference, there's 2 minor differences, and I found them interesting, is that in Peleliu, right from pretty much the beginning, you have elements of 3 regiments hitting the beaches, and the rest of the regiment is going to follow in pretty quick order. And you get 2 free actions. On Tarawa, you had really only 2 regiments fighting, and really only 1.5 regiments for most of the battle, and you got 3 free actions every turn. So 1 action for every half a regiment, and then in this one you get 1 action for every 1.5 regiments. I mean, it would certainly help you in those initial turns here. The other one is that in Tarawa, most fire cards had a double, so it might be a double purple. Now, it's not that big a deal here, because the positions tend to get more depth markers, more reinforcements, etc. But those doubles meant that when you approached a single position, it was actually had a less than 50% chance of activating, because it had a 50% chance its colour would come up, but then those doubles meant only places that had, 2 units would activate, and that single purple wouldn't, and that made it a lot easier to approach and take down positions. So I think any 1 or 2 of those differences I've mentioned would make the would increase the difficulty of the game significantly. When you pile all probably 7 or 8 different changes and differences that I've mentioned together, that's what all accumulates to make the game virtually impossible to win. And in my opinion, and again, it's an inexpert opinion, SLR Bastius would be the man to ask, because he's uncanny with the rules, and I thank you for that, mate. But I think the only real way you can approach it is to actually stop thinking reality and start thinking game. And you probably need to lift the 5th Regiment as soon as you've made this hole, and lift the entire regiment and do and have the HQ in the middle and everything around it, and you just absolutely drive, and you don't stop driving until you can put that HQ about there. and you just try and hit that with that area with an entire regiment on day one, so that you spread out, get as many of those hexes as possible. Because once you've got in here, like, they're never going to reinforce. They're out of communication. As long as you have a unit on them, and then later a garrison on some of them, they're not going to infiltrate. And then spend day 2 trying to slug your way up this road. And in the same token, recognise that the point, which is such a nightmare for anyone that ever tries to fight for it, but really only, because you can get it, this blue one, it's really only 6 hexes, and it probably costs you an entire regiment in the end. If you added it all up, probably costs you an entire regiment to get what is in effect 6 victory points. Those 3 hexes up there are worth 6 victory points, and chances are you're probably going to get 1 or maybe 2, and if you're lucky, all 3 of them without losing a single man. Maybe a pip or 2 from mortar fire and artillery fire. So if you were going to, I think the only way you can win the game is to totally ignore history, ignore the importance of the point, and how without it you really can't even pretend you've cleared the beachhead. Do what I didn't do and throw everything you've got at taking that position. Send a full regiment charging across the airfield on day 1 as soon as you can get them out, and then probably when you're over here, stack HQs and use them to walk around these jungle hexes and reveal units, and don't bring the infantry in until they're revealed. So the infantry moves up under HQ command, waits for it to be revealed, then goes in and takes it. It sounds more cumbersome, but I think it'd probably end up being quicker, because after they've revealed, the infantry regiments can infiltrate without ever getting hit. So they can cut it off. They can surround it. They can provide flanking support if that's what you found. They can provide flamethrowers and mortars. So maybe that's an answer. So I just thought I'd throw this video in, seeing I lost the last 2 turns, but I provide some text explanation, and hopefully this little conclusion bit was of interest. I thank you for watching. I thank those of you who have made comments. I thank you for helping me out with rules and clarifications, and I thank you for your patience. Thank you.